What's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for the OPTC video, and in today's video we're talking PvP Meta Guide 2024 as of the One Piece Day celebration. Now that we've had all of the Verse Super Sugo units out with the release of Luffy vs Kaido, Blackbeard vs Law, and Shanks vs Kid, we're going to take a look at the PvP team meta and how particular teams operate, the best team that I believe for each color and some classes, and then what other characters would fall underneath them, replacement options and all that fun stuff. Now, just be mindful, this is just my personal opinion playing the game. I'm an avid PvP enjoyer, and I do like to play the game mode quite a bit, but that doesn't mean that I know everything about the game mode. This is just what I like to run in terms of what characters work the best together, and then what other options you could use if you are missing said characters. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. We're going to dive in through all of the colors, and then I think I have 4 class teams that I personally love running for you guys to actually check out as well. But enjoy the video, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite team is to run in PvP, and with that said, let's dive in. Starting off with Strength, the very first color on the list, the top tier you see here, this is the meta team. This is the team that I personally like to run the most. And then if we make our way down, we have the Elite subs, which are great options to sort of substitute in. Great subs are the ones after that for particular reasons. Advantageous means if you're versing the opposite type, they are going to work the best. And then options is just like other options you can run. You kind of scroll down here, like these characters here, like they're pretty dookie. There are probably some arguments for like, I don't know, this guy on the bench, ulti if you're running like fighter, powerhouse, free strength teams, but look, most of the time, you want to be looking up the top here for the best characters when it comes to the particular color. So, as for the meta team, my particular strength meta team that I like to run looks a little bit like this. Now, as of the last time I did this over the 10th anniversary, I've actually moved Sanji into the front lines. Having the extra CD reduction for this guy to go ballistic is very, very essential. I was initially running him on the bench and running something like Law in the front lines for a bit more bulk, but with the release of 6+ Akainu and obviously just having like the 20 cost legend thing with Kuma, it just makes sense to have Sanji in the front. Ideally, you kind of want him to die, like you don't really need him to hang around. He's just there for the speed, the attack buff, and then you have like these particular monsters coming in off the bench. Akainu 6+, now he's a 20 cost unit as well. Very, very strong off the bench. Now, Blackbeard is a fantastic, fantastic bulky option, but if you guys are missing Blackbeard and you want to run some more fighter-based stuff, because we do have like the fighter support from Kobe, you can definitely run Jack. In Grand Party, I find Jack works a lot better than Blackbeard, but in regular PvP, I'm a much bigger fan of Blackbeard. As for Ace, Exchange 6+ Ace, I love Ace in the front lines. Big reason I love Ace in the front lines is because he is just a straight booster to the entire team, as long as you have like a Luffy or a Whitebeard, but he's also immune to half stats. Half stats can kind of, it's not as prevalent anymore, but just having that ability to be immune to it makes him very, very strong. On top of that, he gives a shield to himself. He's great in the middle lines here, and basically you're just banking on the damage of this guy right here to sort of carry you along. Kobe obviously needs Sanji to function quite well. He gives the haste ability, he gives the cooldown reduction. He's a very, very powerful unit. And he also gives CD reduction to fighters, which gives these guys a lot more prowess. And again, if you run Jack, it works well. As for other options, you could definitely bring Kaido into the front lines if you want some more damage output. Maybe you could replace something like Ace. If you want some more bulk, you could definitely run Jack and Blackbeard together. That definitely works. And then if you are missing some of these guys at the bench, you can kind of just sub stuff like Law into the bench. You could sub like Santa Sonia into the bench, run the Marigold combination, and do some fun stuff there. As for other characters that have released for the One Piece Day celebration, you can actually do this really fun thing with the Slasher team. With Slashers, I've been doing something like this. Where is Kate at as well? Something like this. I don't have Momo though, but like something like this lineup right here, where you run you in the front lines as well, and you go up against the Dex team. This actually works really, really well. It used to be like the killer of Dex, but now like with Dory Brogy, obviously the reduction that you can give for Toki and Kaku, taking down Dex is actually really, really easy with this particular team. And Dex is just very, very strong right now, so just be mindful of that. Odin, honestly, is probably pretty great. I would definitely put Odin up there. You're only going to run these guys here if you are doing like slasher shenaniganry stuff, to be honest. Other than that, you're not really going to be running them too much. But Brogy and Dory actually buff strength as well, so they're a bit better than something like what K-Dad and Momo are doing. I don't honestly even know what Momo does, if I'm honest. As for other elite subs, you got Rise of Shinobi, they can definitely work, and that's basically strength. As of right now, I have strength probably as the 4th best PvP team in the game. Maybe 5th, honestly. They have fallen off quite a lot, but they're still strong because they do have the best PvP character in the game. Moving on to Quick now. Quick is a interesting one because this is one of the teams that you guys will see that is not a mono Quick team. And as you can see right at the front there, we have the new Verse Blackbeard. Verse Blackbeard is a meta killer. He's so good on so many teams, and he finds a home over here on the Quick team because he basically just nerfs all of those other very annoying teams to help this team function and move a lot more smoothly. Now, last time we did this video, like, we had the Roger Odin set situation, we had Momo with the Slasher comp, and since then we do have Verse Luffy as well. Verse Luffy is fantastic. I do not want to discredit what Verse Luffy's doing. However, you can't run these guys together, which is a huge problem in my opinion. I'm a massive fan of 6+ Kaido in PvP, and the fact you can't run the two of them together it's a huge hindrance. Now, you can still do the Roger Odin and cross guild combination, but with this guy here nowadays, I find like this team just works so much nicer. You do need 5 powerhouse characters to make him work, so obviously you want to have Smoothie, you have Kaido, and then you have your bench being powerhouse as well. These two characters here being Porchemi and what's his name? Blue Gem. You can put like Pell on the bench if you really want to. Like, that's going to work out nicely. But you do also have to satisfy the driven component of Cross Guild. Cross Guild is going to use Tesoro, Blackbeard himself, Cross Guild, Kaido, and then you have Tesoro if you really want to use, not Tesoro, Shiryu if you really want. I think with Shiryu, actually, you don't need him. I think you can actually use Kanjuro. Kanjuro is way better than Shiryu, especially his bench option. So I feel like he's definitely more of a benchy option. The Hatchan and Jinbei combination has come out since the last video as well. They're great when you're going up against strength. Honestly, you're probably down here now. They're great when you go up against strength, but otherwise, like, you're not going to use them all that much in a main lineup. The 6+ Red Rock Luffy, I'm definitely going to give a lot more love to. I have been using him a lot more frequently as well. I don't think he's as good as this Luffy here, so I'm actually going to drop him down 1 tier. Because I just don't think he's on the same echelons as this guy, or for what this guy's actually doing. King's still great because he satisfies the driven slash condition if you want to use Roger and Odin, but you can change up this particular lineup and do some more stuff, like I said, with slashes. But I just find that this works great. Blackbeard's an menace, man. He's nerfing to the enemy team just allows this Kaido to go absolutely insane. And then you have rollback with these two characters, CD reduction with Tesoro. Works really nicely. And then you have like a lot of power on the bench. The bench is a little bit weak compared to some other benches, but having just a full driven bench to come in and buff literally the entire team except for Smoothie works great. But Smoothie's a must bring. Like, you just have to bring Smoothie. Her rollback is so powerful. Plus, she's a powerhouse character to satisfy the Blackbeard condition. So that's the meta team that I like to run. But again, if you guys want to do some more stuff with stuff like Momo and Roger and Odin, you do have a lot of driven slasher options that you guys can run. Where are you? You, and you. So you can do some fun stuff there. So Quick's on the rise. Honestly, this team up the top here, I've actually got as like the 3rd best team in the game. I love running it. It works so well against a lot of good teams, especially stuff like slashes. And it can actually do like really good work against strength. The only thing obviously it will struggle with is Dex. Dex is just gonna like absolutely cream by it, but obviously that's to be expected because it is like the weaker of the typings. Moving on to Dex though, Dex is in a really good position. In my opinion, Dex have shot all the way to my 2nd favorite team in the game. Like, well, maybe 3rd, maybe 4th. Actually, this team's probably 4th. I'd probably say maybe 4th, where Dex has shot all the way up to 3rd. Maybe even 2nd, honestly. Like, 2nd, like, I'm a huge fan of this team. Like, a massive fan of this Dex team. Dex, we're just getting buff after buff after buff after buff. As of the last time we did this, obviously we had Ace, Roger was up here, but we had Lucci 6+2. But since then, we've had Usopp, we've had Frankie, we've had Verse Kaido, we've had the Pell level limit break, which has been monstrous. Other units, we've had a Whitebeard, Zoro, these types of characters as well. But the meta team is kind of revolved around Dex shooter-centric. With the addition of Frankie and Usopp, you can do some disgusting things. Ace is still an absolute monster because he's like all your damage, and then you have to run something like Luffy or Garp or Sabo on the bench. The problem is, we had this release of Verse Kaido, who is just absolutely demonic, but because he's a Verse Kaido, you can't use Luffy. So Ace is restricted to just using Garp, just using something like Sabo. There is a 20 cost Garp you can use as a replacement, the Kazuna 5+. So don't be discouraged if you don't have Garp. You can run the team. You just need to substitute that Garp in. As for the shooter-centric variation that you are seeing in front of you, this team works just so damn nicely because you need 5 shooters for Frankie. Frankie can lower defense and then just do a big damage shot, but the main upside to him is if you have 5 shooters, he goes through defense and he just hits really, really hard. You combine this with these 2 characters here. Pel's just doing really, really good damage as well. You've lowered a whole bunch of defense and these characters go really, really nicely. Finally, we have Usopp. Usopp's just like a mini Blackbeard in my opinion. He's just got great damage over time. Not as good as Blackbeard, obviously, but his nerfing and his rollback and his reduction of CD works so nicely. And he just buffs Dex, so it's not like he's just buffing shooters. So he works nicely. A lot of people don't have Usopp though, and a straight replacement for him is just to chuck Lucci in the front lines. Lucci's very, very good. He's a powerhouse character, so he gets the Pel CD reduction. But his defense drop and then allowing other characters to hit really hard works really, really nicely too. As for the bench, you just want to run another shooter character. You need to run another shooter character. Otherwise, you're not going to have the 5 shooter units that you guys need to actually satisfy this. Now that I'm looking at it too, we actually don't have the 5 shooter characters. So, we want to do that. I actually don't run, because I run Esper. You can run the 6+ Akainu as well, that you saw in the strength fight as well. But as long as this character is a shooter character, you are fine. And that's the downside to this team. You have to find a spot for 2 shooters on the bench to satisfy the 5 shooter meta. Finally, you need the Garp to trigger Ace. So the bench is very, very weak. And it's basically just funneling into building up this front line. But look, Pel's level limit break makes him absolutely monstrous. Hitting 2 units is massive. It's a huge change. And it works very, very nicely. As for the other teams that you guys can run, you can do some stuff with Powerhouse. Like, Roger's okay, but like I just found after using Roger for a while, like, I don't rate him, man. Like, he just doesn't work that well. That level 10 CD reduction is just a meme. But you do have some very good Powerhouse options here, and then you can run them in the front with Pel. And then you could obviously run Kaido. I think Ace is like the most staple unit that has to come alongside Kaido. So, if you are building something, just build around these 3, and this back part can change. So you have lots and lots of options here with very powerful characters that can substitute their way in. Obviously, if you guys don't have Verse Kaido, you can substitute this Luffy in. He's a great option for some cooldowns. With that massive 100% cooldown you can do if you're below 50% HP. And if you kind of go down the bottom here, you have some other really good options. This Whitebeard's pretty good. Law 6+, I definitely didn't get enough love to. You can run Zoro on the bench still. Like, he's kind of an option though. He's really not that good actually. You're actually a lot better than I thought as well. You give a very good HP cut. However, I would much rather run Blackbeard or run Roger. As for advantageous, if you're going up against Quick, ideally, honestly, if you just run Lucci, like, you just win. Like, Lucci's that good that you don't have to run him just against Quick, but, like, if you see Quick units, bring Lucci, because he's going to be the absolute menace. But that's Dex. I love Dex. It's probably my either 2nd or 3rd favorite team in the game, and up there in terms of, like, the 2nd or 3rd, like, strongest team in the game as well. Moving on to Sai, though. Sai have had a lot of buffs as well, just like Dex, but Sai are just nowhere near where I want them to be. Again, they've had lots and lots of buffs, and they have lots and lots of powerful units, but they're just not hitting all of the marks that I would like them to hit. So, with the meta team, we obviously had Esper and Saul since the last time we spoke, and then we have the 6+ of Wano Law. The Wano Law 6+ is absolutely phenomenal. Terrific buffs to the character. You can remove half stats, which is just absolutely insane. And then obviously with Saul being really good damage and Esper being able to force out, you can do some really, really fun stuff. Like, really, really good stuff. Yamato's 6+ level limit break is very good as well. Having the ability to halve stats is still very, very strong, and she can do it very, very nicely. Law's still doing great nerfing capabilities, giving you a lot of cooldowns, and then Enel is just buffing your speed and your attack. The idea of this team, though, is you do want one of your frontline units to die, because you do want this guy to come in. Shanks is still the 9.5 anniversary Shanks is still an absolute menace, but he does work better in the last 50 seconds. So you want him to come in, use his special, give you all those buffs, do all that damage, and he works great. You have Zoro and Rebecca Toy Soldier as other bench options. You can still run stuff like, what's her name? Where's Smoothie at? You can run Smoothie, you could run Gabon if you really want to. You can do some fun stuff there. Plus, you can obviously still do a lot of stuff with the free spirit meta as well. As you can see, like, you still have Roger, Odin's a great option, 6+ Gear 5's great. You can run 6-star, but, like, 6+ is just infinitely better in PvP, in my opinion. And then we had Verse Law. Verse Law is a very interesting addition to the Sai team because he doesn't actually buff Sai. He's still very, very good, and he basically comes to just absolutely decimate slashes. The problem I find with this Law is you have to commit with this guy. And this Law in my opinion, is just way, way better for the side team. This guy for strikers, 100%. I would definitely agree. For a striker team, Law's very, very good. They're terrific at taking down slashes. However, when it comes to taking down slashes, I'm actually a bigger fan of doing something like this, because Sanji's just so good at killing S-Hawk that you don't really need to bring other characters that can just purely nerf slasher characters. Sanji's another really good option if you want like another bench character here. I believe we actually have space for another bench character here, right? Yeah, we do. Yeah, so like you can run Sanji on the bench like this, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. You actually have enough room to do that, so definitely want to do something like this. Sanji's damage output's crazy, but most of the time you want to run Sanji where there's any int characters. There doesn't have to be a full team of int characters, but like you definitely want to. Plus he's a free spirit character, so you can do some fun stuff there. But as you can see, the Psy team, it's finally moving away from the Psy meta, so that works out really, really nicely. Another really good comp is to run sort of the striker-based comp, because you have like Enel with Esper, and you can kind of just use Law in the lineup. With Gin as well, or Jin, or whatever his name is, like you can do some fun stuff like this, and then you run like Sanji in the front there as well, if you are versing int characters. So like you can do some really, really cool stuff there. But Gin's great, but his whole gimmick is like, I really, really want to take down int characters. So if you see int characters, you can run Gin, and then you can run Sanji, and then you can just run like one or Law, because most of them are powerhouse driven. So that works out great. But like I said, Psy's in a really weird spot. I don't have them in my top 5 at all. Maybe around 6 or 7, I guess. But like, yeah, I don't know. They just need something. They need a little bit more help. We had Robin, the addition of Robin as well. She's more for cerebral characters. And other than that, like they haven't really got super drastic buffs like some of the other teams. But these two PvP, Rare Recruitment and Legend, and even Gin as well, they're absolutely fantastic on the Psy team. Moving on to Int now, and Int has taken over as the #1 team in the game, in my opinion. With the release of Blackbeard, Yamato, and even Verse Shanks, wherever I put Verse Shanks. Where the hell did I put Verse Shanks? Did I not put Verse Shanks on this tier list? That's crazy. Give me 1 second. Holy shit, fake fan, am I right? I want to see, can we get a hashtag Stumps a Fake Shanks fan in the comment section below, please? But with the release of Blackbeard, with Yamato, and with the Shanks, like, it's just absolutely disgusting. Shanks doesn't really find a home on the team, in my opinion. He's nowhere near as good as something like Blackbeard and what Yamato's doing. But, like, this team just goes absolutely crazy now. There's not too many things that can actually take this down. Actually, this quick team here is very, very good at countering it. But as for just, like, a team that you want to just jump in and take on anything, Inter's kind of become that team. It used to be Slashes for me, but now it's kind of this team. It just kind of goes, hey, look, there's a really big strength team. There's a really big Slasher team. What am I going to run? This is what I'm going to run. And it works like 9.9 times out of 10, which is absolutely insane. But the idea of the team is it's revolved around Blackbeard having 5 powerhouse characters. And with this, Luffy still being one of the best PvP characters in the game, it's very easy to just fill your bench with some very good powerhouse characters. As I mentioned, Pell's level limit break is so fucking good that you have to run him on the bench. Like, you just want to run him as a powerhouse option. Other options you have, like in terms of other powerhouse characters, you can run like your Rogue, you could run Jozu. I've seen people just use like any powerhouse like 20 cost unit, that works too. But as long as you have the 5 powerhouse characters in the front lines, or in the lineup, sorry, Blackbeard is going to just do massive nerfing. His damage over time hits for like 8,000, and even though he's not buffing the team at all, he's nerfing like some of the best characters in the game, being like Slashes, Cerebral characters. I think he does Free Spirit as well. Like he just works so well, so well. On top of that, you have great damage with Luffy and S-Hawk. S-Hawk's going to bypass defense, but because Blackbeard lowers the defense so much, Luffy's basically doing way more damage than S-Hawk. The upside to S-Hawk is that he goes so fast that early on he just hits like a truck, and then once you have the nerfing kick in of Yamato and Blackbeard, like not many teams survive the Luffy shot. They have to kill Luffy, otherwise they literally would die. The upside to this team too is if you go up against some really big boppers, if you hit something like an S-Hawk or a Roger Whitebeard, and they hit Yamato, Yamato's pretty much going to take a unit with them. And it's absolutely insane when you have Yamato's special go, and then she dies, because she just automatically goes again. And she does like a level 15 attack down, defense down, speed down, 7,500 fixed damage. It's kind of wild how much damage she does. She's not going to take down an AE side character though. It's a big downside to her kit. But look, she's just so good in the front lines regardless. And being able to just insta-kill a unit that is of any other color, it just works amazingly. Bonnie 6+ is absolutely ridiculous as well. She can roll back specials as long as they're above 70%, I believe. Plus, she has great nerfing in terms of reducing the enemy's attack down and giving you an attack up buff. Other characters that work great in the front lines, you could run something like Pudding if you guys are struggling for cooldown reduction. Pudding has like a 40% cooldown charge, which works absolutely great. And with the release of the memory Straw Hat's Chopper, you could do some fun stuff with him too. If you're going up against Free Spirit and Striker characters, he gives cooldowns and he reduces cooldowns, so he's a great option in the front lines. But as I was saying at the start of the video, Verse Shanks is actually a really good option too. Verse Shanks is amazing at buffing S-Hawk. He gives so much extra buffs to S-Hawk. On top of that, he does 5,000 fixed damage to all enemies no matter where they are, which is a lot of damage, and he's on a 20-second cooldown, so you can pop this special off a lot. However, he's not really as good as what this Bonnie's doing. Another really good option that you guys can do for int-based teams, you can do a bit of a cerebrally build like we saw last time with Atlas, Pudding, you have Yamato who's now cerebral, the Bonnie's cerebral, you have Shanks who's cerebral, and all of a sudden you've got 5 cerebral characters very easily. Om's pretty much just now only good against type disadvantage. He was a great bench option because he was an int cerebral character, but nowadays we don't really run that too much anymore because of Blackbeard, S-Hawk. Giants got their like absolute massive buffs with the int meta getting a rise, so nowadays he kind of just finds a way down here on the bench. Another really good team that's sort of popping up is the ints slasher team. So you have a lot of really good int slasher characters as well that you can do some really fun stuff with. The problem is they just don't have that many legends that can kind of get them across the line. But this team here, it tears through a lot. There's not a lot that can stand up to it. But look, there are some teams that can take it down. But in my opinion, it is the best PvP team in the entire game. If you go up against like Jin and Sanji and then One of Law, it's definitely going to struggle. And obviously against that other quick team I showed you. But like I said, it goes really, really hard. As for the next team, the one that kind of fell from grace, my original GOATs, Slasher team. How the mighty have fallen. The Slashers are starting to decline, and they're starting to decline at a rapid rate. With the release of Verse Blackbeard and Verse Law, they have been trying to do everything in their power to just nerf Slashers. Obviously, Verse Law is just built around nerfing Slashers. Blackbeard also has the ability to nerf Slashers, and he actually works better than Law, ironically, which is hilarious. But Slashers now, they're just not where they used to be. The amount of nerfs they can take from in characters and other teams, like, it puts them in a really bad spot. However, like, in my opinion, they're still, like, second or third best team in the game. They are still absolutely amazing, but when I say they've fallen heavily, they were, like, head over heels my best team in the game. Like, for ages, Slashers were just like, yeah, you just take Slashers, they're so fast, they do so much damage, there's not much that can take them down. However, now we have a lot of teams, like the Dex team, for example, that has a lot of HP, and they're tanking shots from stuff like S-Hawk. On top of that, Int is reducing attack so much, they're tanking shots from S-Hawk very, very easily. So that's where the change in the meta has come. S-Hawk is no longer just killing 3 units. Roger Whitebeard is not just killing 2 units. And the Slasher team, it's just not moving as fast as it once was. As for the lineup, it pretty much remains the same as what you guys saw last time. I did move Odin onto Elite subs rather than Cracker. Cracker's just extra cooldown, in my opinion. It's just better. It just works better. We do have the release of Shanks and Dory Brogy. They're actually really, really good options for Slasher teams. Dory Brogy especially, because you can halve defense. But if you do bring them on the team, you are sacrificing like shield and 20% reduction, cooldown reduction, haste ability. So there's no real place for them whatsoever. But you definitely can do some stuff with like strength slashes, as I spoke about before. You can do some stuff with int slashes, as I spoke about before as well. Obviously, our bench is just straight int. So you have some very good options there. Plus, obviously, you have S-Hawk. You could run something like Doflamingo. But again, the int legends slashes, they are quite lacking. As for the front lineup, though, it still moves fast. It's still very bulky. It still hits really, really hard. It can take down most teams. But nowadays, it's just not exactly like cutthroat, the best team in the game. As for bench options, yeah, again, you just run the Giants here if you want to. If you want to replace the Shankses, you can do something like this to make S-Hulk go a little bit better. But I just find that the 10th anniversary Shanks still works just a lot better on the straight Slasher team. Moving on to everyone's favorite, we have Free Spirits now. I am not a huge fan of Free Spirits. I don't have them in my top 5. They're more of a defensive team, in my opinion. But I know everybody loves Free Spirits, so I had to include them on the tier list somewhere. But as you can see, that the team has changed drastically. And the big thing I wanted to talk about was the Memories of the Straw Hat Brook. Memories of the Straw Hat Brook provides an extra revive to a team that already has 2 revives. Absolutely wild. Like, absolutely wild. On top of that, he can halve stats, which is really, really good. This team is just, it'll just store you out till the sun comes home. And then as for the bench, you can actually run the 20 cost Kuzen, who's probably due for a 6+ soon, seeing as we just got a Kainus. But nowadays, the Free Spirit's just become like a 6-man team, in my opinion. Naomi Karina, still one of the best PvP characters in the game. 6+ Gear 5 Luffy, even though I don't run him on side anymore, still one of the best characters in the game. Zoro, still one of the best PvP characters in the game. Sanji is still absolutely amazing as well. So, can't really fault the Free Spirit team. It's just one that has never really been my favorite to use as an attacking option. There are times where I go up against Free Spirit and it just, out of the blue, will beat one of my best teams. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? So, look, I do want to give them credit because they definitely can do things. They're just not things that I like really resonate towards. So if you guys love Free Spirits, let me know in the comment section below. Because I do know that a lot of people still have this monster trio, and it still carries them through a lot of those PvP challenges and stuff like that. As for other subs, like you can sub in Odin if you're missing Nami Karina. You've got Roger, more damage output with what's her name? Robin Koala. You could substitute out Brook and then run more of a Free Spirit kind of 8-man team with Otama and do some like stuff like this if you really want to. It's totally up to you however you guys want to go about it. But nowadays, I just think that the best lineup is this 6-man team. And a 6-man team, in my opinion, is never as good as an 8-man team when it comes to attacking options. For defense options, pretty nice, pretty good, pretty tasty. As for a team that has shot up the ranks drastically, in my opinion, and is on the cusp of like a top 5 team, is the shooter team. Shooters have become so fun to run in PvP. They've had the release of Esper, Frankie, Verse Kid, 6+ Akainu came out as well. So you have some really, really fun characters. And because you have a lot of very good PvP legends, and obviously Akainu with the 20 cost update, you can run this guy on the bench. And this guy on the bench is an absolute menace. But the premise of the team kind of revolves around having Raizo Shinobu as all your bulk. This Usopp here we'll talk about later, but he's a great option if you're looking for another 20 cost character. If you don't have him, you can definitely substitute in something like Kizaru. But again, we'll talk about that once we get there. Esper is basically a must bring with his force out, and then Frankie with his damage through defense. Uta's giving you cooldowns, she gives you CD reduction, and then ideally you want to have a character here that can kind of die to bring Kid in. You want Kid to come in, add the back 40 seconds. If he comes in at the back 40 seconds, he does so much work. He hits through defense. He hits everyone very, very hard. Downside to the unit is that he only has horizontal damage. Horizontal damage can whiff. He's damage through defense later in the fight. Doesn't have horizontal. I think it's like target 3 enemies. So that's good, but that horizontal damage at the start is just, it's very, very miss, in my opinion. As for Esper, absolutely fantastic. Lots of damage and can apply forced out. The downside to Esper is you can't run int characters on the team, which means you can't run this particular Usopp. Frankie needs 5 shooters to operate. Obviously, you can get 5 shooters on the team. Kid needs 5 shooters to operate as well. Very, very easy to do that, and then you have damage through defense. This particular Usopp, though, I really hope they bring him back at some capacity, whether it's from a metal exchange shop, whether they put him in, like, the, I don't know, treasure map shop, just somewhere players can acquire 1 copy of this unit. Because he's a 20 cost character, and the reason he is so good is because he gives level 5 CD to the entire team. That's all he does, but he does level 5 CD, which is absolutely insane. You slap him in the middle, everyone's getting their specials charged fast. You have him die very, very quickly, and then you have like these monsters just absolutely come in and just wreck face. Works exceptionally well. With the addition of this Usopp, I can take down stuff like Slashers, not the meta Slasher team, but like the challenge Slasher team, and actually compete with some of the better teams in the game. Without this guy, your options are kind of limited. And obviously you can't run this Usopp, which is a huge problem. So you're kind of bringing either something like Kizaru, maybe you're running Kid in the front, trying to do some other stuff there. Another option that you guys can do is just run like any 20 cost Luffy and then bring in Ace. That's definitely a really, really good option. And that way you just have more back-ended options rather than running this Luffy. That's something you guys can definitely do. But having this Usopp is just an absolute game changer because he also triggers Frankie's passive and then he allows you to run like a strength bench. Remember, this Luffy's not essential, so if you don't have this Usopp, you just take off this Luffy character here, and you just run one of these absolute monster powerhouses. You have Usopp Yasop, who would work great in the front lines here. You have something like Fujikizaru, which you could definitely use, or even run them on the bench. I find they work really, really well. Ace is a really good option. You can go bulkiness with Chopper and do some fun stuff there as well. The bench on this team is basically its strength, though. Having, again, Kid come in to buff shooters, Akainu comes in to buff Strength, X, and Quick, which are these three characters here mainly, and the bench, and then Luffy come in the back end of a fight. If Luffy comes in with a special, and the enemy has 6 units, you basically just win. It's crazy. You can do some other fun stuff, though, with, like, quick characters, quick shooters, and Kuzan with his quick and side buffs. You have Chopper for great bulk. Obviously, again, Ace is a really, really good option. Kizaru is a fantastic unit as well. And then you have some advantageous options here. Another thing to talk about is obviously the Dex Shooter team. We spoke about it over in the Dex, what's it called? We spoke about it in the Dex part of this video, but like the Dex Shooter team, it's something to be absolute trifled with. So just be mindful that these types of characters are very, very tough. If you guys see like these four with Frankie in the front lines, you could just get absolutely smoked and have no idea what happened. The final team of the video is the Powerhouse team, and Powerhouse literally came out of absolute nowhere, and the only reason I have them on this tier list, or on this meta guide, is purely because of Blackbeard. I cannot stress how annoying and powerful Blackbeard is, not only to have, but to face. And this Powerhouse team, shout out to Gao, I believe Go was the first one to post it, but it's really, really good, it's really, really fast, and it can take down a lot of very strong teams. Just like shooters though, it can't really rumble with like the top 5, but it can definitely have a conversation for the top end of the back end of, the top end of the back 5 of top 10, if that makes sense. So, like, around that kind of 7 or 8 mark, if we were doing, like, a tier list of best teams in the game, the Powerhouse team could definitely rumble around there. So, Blackbeard's nerfing capabilities are great. You have 5 Powerhouse characters, works very, very nicely. And then, obviously, you have your 4 PvP rare recruits. Pell's level limit break is absolutely disgusting, and that's another reason why the Powerhouse team works so well. You have so much CD reduction with these two, and then if Luffy goes, you can pretty much just kill the entire team, and with that, you can just shut down enemy options. Kuzan's 20% reduction works really, really nicely. He doesn't really find a way onto the quick team, but over on like the meta Powerhouse team, he definitely finds a home. Like, he can definitely do some really, really cool stuff. You could probably bring him in on the quick team over something like Kaido, but he's just here for like cooldown reduction. That's his big upside. The bench is very strong. We are running obviously an int-based bench, just sort of keeping Blackbeard alive to keep those nerfs available. And then S-Hawk at the back end of a fight can just go absolutely crazy. So Powerhouse are very, very good. They have a lot of very good options, as you can see down here. You can run more of a Dex Powerhouse build with Blackbeard and then Pell. You could run more of a quick Powerhouse build if you want to, and then bring like these types of characters. You've got Kaido, and then you've got Smoothie, or you could do some stuff with Strength if you really wanted to as well, and just run. Actually, you're not Powerhouse. Why are you here? Let's put you down there for now. Yeah, you're not a Powerhouse character. You could do some stuff with Strength here if you guys wanted to take down something like Dex. So you could do some fun stuff there. These guys are Powerhouse as well. So you have lots of very, very good options, and Powerhouse is a team that definitely surprised me. If I were to rank every single team that you guys see today, Powerhouse would probably be my, what have we got, 8 teams here? Maybe 9. 9. These guys would be like my 9th kind of team. They definitely can take on some of the other teams, but like for me, they would probably be 9th, or even Free Spirit would probably be somewhere around that 9th echelons. 8th and 9th spot would probably be interchangeable with these two teams. Then I'd probably move into the Shooter team as my 7th best team in the game. Very, very good team, and can take down a lot of very good options. Then we've got Sai just sitting outside the top 5. I don't think Sai cracks the top 5. Like, they're great and accessible. Everyone got that full Sai team, but they're kind of just sitting on the outside, in my opinion. As for the 5th best team, I am going to go with Strength. Strength has dropped so much. It kind of sucks because they were just so good for so long, and they still are so good, don't get me wrong. You can still get really bad RNG if you're versing a defensive Strength team with like these two, and then have the haste, and Luffy just takes out your entire team. But obviously it's very RNG reliant. Moving on to team number 4, I'd probably have to go with this quick team. This quick team is very, very good. It can take down some of the best teams in the game, and that's why I have it at 4. Just purely because it works well against slashers, it works well against the int team, and as for the 3rd best team, I do have my slasher team. I still have them in the top 3. I still think they're up there. They work very, very nicely. They're very, very fast. They can beat lots and lots of teams. but they do struggle now against stuff like Dex, even stuff like that Quick Team that we just spoke about. That, like, honestly, I would be more inclined to say Slashers are probably 4th, and this Quick Team probably 3rd, like, with what it can do. As for 2nd, though, I do have the Dex team. The Dex shooter team especially, works just fantastically across the board. It's got great nuisance capabilities, tearing through lineups. You can throw Blackbeard on this team as well, if you really want to. Throw Blackbeard in over something like Frankie here. And then you have the Usopp and Blackbeard combination, which is absolutely disgusting. And you can just tear through lineups. It's a very, very annoying defensive team to fight. But Dex is great. In my opinion, it has moved up to number 2. And then rounding it out, like I said earlier, we have the Int team, the Int Blackbeard team, especially as the best team in the game. But like I said at the start of the video, let me know what your best team in the game is down below in the comment section while you're down there. Belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, whether you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.